Hey guys, it's me, Kristen, again. Welcome to my second ever process video. In the first one, I kind of explained my actual process for making an animals with food. But for this one, I wanted to focus more on my emotional journey in creating them. For a little background about me, I have always loved drawing and doodling ever since I was a little kid, as many artists do. I think that's pretty standard. I also loved cartoons. Anything that had a cartoon face on it enthralled me, from the Looney Tunes to the Dare Lion way back in the day. If there was a cartoon mascot, I was into it. I think I went to Red Robin as a kid and loved it just because they had a good coloring sheet. So that was part of my childhood, and as I grew up, my love of cartoons just grew. I got way more into it. I discovered you could do it for a living, animators, character designers, all that jazz. It was amazing to me, and I just immersed myself in that world. And as many people find when they're obsessed with something that is typically thought of as childish or for children, you get shame for it, or a little bit of weird glances, and why are you into this, and this is just for kids, you're like 15 now, what are you doing, that type of thing. And I think that's very typical. There's 1,000 videos about my art teacher didn't like me or the anime I drew type videos out there, but I kind of understood that logic, because I don't think it was ever, at least the high school teachers, it wasn't ever that they hated anime, it's just that they wanted their students to learn the basics before you go jumping into the deep end of abstraction. So learn anatomy first, and then you can make the giant eyes. When I went to college, however, things got a little bit more gatekeepy, and that's going to be a main topic that I want to cover, is gatekeeping and telling somebody their art isn't good enough or isn't the correct way to do something, and therefore they're not a good artist or an artist at all, that type of thing. So for me, I went to college for fine art. I probably should have gone to a college more centered around illustration, animation, those types of things. However, financially, I couldn't afford a school like that. And also the one school that was in my state and very close to me, it has a really great animation program, but it is a religious school and I'm not part of that religion, so that wasn't something that I was willing to do. So I ended up at a fine art school, and I don't regret my degree. I learned a lot of great things, a lot of lessons that I still use today, a lot of core drawing techniques that really form the backbone of how I do composition and color theory and all that type of stuff. However, art school did severely skew my perception of what good art was, and that the things I wanted to draw weren't part of that. So when I first started college, I was pretty cocky just because I felt that I was pretty good at art. That was quashed by one of my professors, which was a good thing. I needed the little punch of humble pie. I think his exact words were, "You're good, but not that good." Which, yeah, I needed that. But then as I kept going, you go through the basics, you do a lot of still lives at first, you do those stupid color sheets. As you progress, at least for my school, you get more into what kind of art you want to make, what constitutes good art, serious discussions about what makes good art. The baseline most people have, the general public have, about what makes good art usually just boils down to something that accurately portrays something they know. So portraits of celebrities, portraits of their dogs, pictures of, hyper-realistic cake, things like that. If it looks like the thing you were trying to draw, that's good art. Another baseline opinion will be, something that makes you feel, whether it's sadness or anger or happiness, something that evokes an emotion in you. And I think that's also a widely held opinion about what good art is. And then when you get more into art school, maybe this was just the one I went to, but it feels like a generally held opinion by most fine art institutions is that good art is something that makes a statement, says something about the world or society or a culture, makes you think. At least when I was in college, it was heavily implied that to be a good artist, you needed to make art that was thought-provoking. And I internalized a lot of that. And I always felt like an outsider looking into that world. I certainly had a better appreciation of contemporary and modern art. I grew to understand it and not take it for the garbage that a lot of people think it is. That said, I never wanted to be a fine artist. It was never my goal to be in that world. However, my dreams of becoming an animator were slowly fading because I was learning more about the profession and how I was as an artist. It started to be something I didn't want to do, mostly because of the workload, a lot of the culture surrounding animation, and it just slowly faded from being one of my dreams, which is fine. And it's not a sad thing, it's just how it goes. I'm not sad that I ever got to be an animator. I still love animation. So after art school, I was stuck in a really hard place because my main goal of being an animator had faded, and then I never wanted to be a fine artist. So basically, all the things that I made in art school, I didn't like. It was all made for my professors so that I could get good grades. If I had a professor that liked a lot of realistic art, I'd do that. If I had a professor who liked more impressionistic stuff and liked social commentary, I would do that. I made it, but it wasn't my art. And so I didn't have a portfolio at all when I left. And I was very sick of painting. I was very sick of art. So I just, for about 2 to 3 years, was in a pretty depressive state of not knowing what I wanted to do. I didn't have any goals. I didn't have anything to look forward to. I kind of just went to my day job, came home. I was usually too tired to draw, so I'd just watch a movie and then go to bed. And that was kind of a weird haze in my life. And I still drew, but it was very infrequently. But slowly over time, I would read things from other artists who were like me and liked fan art and fantasy and, just drawing pretty things. Through their opinions, I really started to realize that I didn't have to live up to anybody's standards about what was good or what was meaningful. If I wanted to draw something cute or something pretty, I could do that. And there was really nothing stopping myself but me. It feels so simple to say that, but when you've internalized so much crap about real art has to say something, real art is this, real art is that, it's very hard to just sit down and be like, I want to draw a pangolin with a piece of cake, and that's it. And that's all it'll be. But yeah, in the end, I just learned to do what I wanted, and that's it. The main message I want to get across is that make what you want to make. There is no good or bad art for the most part because it's such a subjective thing. There is no baseline. It's not like math or science where you can measure it or calculate it precisely to get the answer you need. Art is such a wishy-washy, weird, wonderful thing. If you want to make super controversial, edgy, ugly stuff, then do that. If you want to draw just pretty things, do that. There's really nothing wrong with it. Although I will say the only bad art that does exist is art rooted in hate. You can't make good art if you're simply doing it out of hatred for another person or a group of people. That's not cool. So the takeaway is that those baselines I talked about before aren't really baselines. You can choose what good art means for yourself, and you really don't have to mold yourself to anybody else's expectations. And that sentiment goes into other people finding your art and enjoying it as well. You can't make art that you hate and expect people to somehow like it if you don't like it. I hope this was helpful to some people. I know there's a million videos out there all about giving advice and how to make the art that you want to make. Of course, if you think I'll never make good art because I'm not good enough, that is a discussion for another day. I will plan to make a video about talent. I have strong opinions about how I don't think talent exists, but I won't get into that for the moment. Right now I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't really have an upload schedule because I'm kind of just making these when I feel like it. Maybe in the future it'll be more consistent. I also need to get used to making these because my brain's still in make a thing, maybe put that up on the internet or, sell it, but I'm not in the headspace of you could make a video about this. Wouldn't it be cool if you talked about the myth of talent? I need to work on that as a goal if I want to get videos out more often. And if you guys even like seeing videos from me, I guess I'll keep making them if I continue to enjoy it. That's my promise. From me to me. Anyway, I'll just sign off with my favorite motto, which is create cool shit and be kind. Goodbye!